Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Ball. The excitement is brought to you by RealCrowd.com. For professional crowdfunding as a sponsor or an investor, check out RealCrowd.com. Well, today we're talking about the Better Buildings Challenge. We're talking about sustainability. We're talking about some important things if you run or operate a business or involved in commercial real estate in any way. My guests are Liz York with CDC and Andrea Penabel with Southface. And before the break, we were talking about toilets, and I'm glad we're through toilets. Interesting, but let's talk about some other examples of some ways that buildings that have been involved in the Better Buildings Challenge are really having a great savings, or maybe winning the challenge.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes the BBC so interesting and so successful is because it is a voluntary program, and there's recognition and challenge, and that sort of competition between city to city, when you're talking about over 100 cities in 28 states. Sharing of best practices is the friendly part of that, but there really is that competition. And what we have found is the recognition is a really important part of showcasing those best practices that are coming out. And so we have seen things from excellent green space planning to reduce stormwater aspects, to lighting, as we talked about earlier, to full HVAC retrofits. And part of that is also to look at opportunities for things that have a duplicative effort. So things that are also that save energy, also that improve health. Right. So things like plasma systems, which refresh the air and change the amount of fresh air intake that you need, also are reducing flu episodes that we've seen in some of the shelters and other multifamily and recreational facilities that we've done.
So another example that's a little smaller scale, having a beautiful staircase for people to utilize instead of using the elevators actually saves elevator trips, and that reduces energy. It also reduces maintenance on those elevators.
And I hadn't thought about that because, I'd use the stairs here every day, but they're ugly. They're the back concrete stairs.
Right.
Now, if they were beautiful, would I go up and down 6 flights?
You would. Well, in fact, so CDC took one of our own stairwells and we renovated it piecemeal. First, we replaced the ugly stair treads with nice new rubber treads. We painted light colors. We introduced artwork, we introduced music, and all along the way we had counters that were counting how many people were using the stairs. And as each of these, they call them interventions. I know we talk about them as renovations, but we in public health call them interventions. We did each of these interventions and we saw increases in stair use, both trips up and trips down. Interesting,
and you probably saw a lot less people out of office for health reasons, right? Because they're
Absolutely.
healthier. Some days the stairs are my only exercise. I try to exercise every morning, but if you can go up and down the stairs, it helps a lot. What are some other examples?
So other things that you can do in your buildings to make them healthier are think about, so for example, in a cafeteria or in a vending area, think about providing healthy foods at eye level. I'm not saying take out unhealthy food. I'm just saying put them in a different place.
I want my Cheetos.
Well, you can get your Cheetos, but you might have to bend down to get them off the bottom shelf.
Well, I'm not doing that.
But it helps people choose healthier foods. So, for example, in one of our cafeterias, we have fresh fruit, which is available right as you're going through the checkout. There's apples sitting there instead of candy bars. Now, I love candy bars as much as the next person, but having that fresh fruit reminds you, oh, I should get this also, and so then you end up with a healthier lunch.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in our office, we did that. We had some, sweets and things like that. And we had the sweet drinks with the syrupy stuff, and we took all those out, put healthy drinks, we put healthy food. And I think one of the things we find is if you give people things, they're probably going to eat them and drink them.
That's right. That's right.
So give them healthy things.
And having filtered water is a very easy way and a very low cost way for asset managers to be able to actually provide and create a healthy benefit. And like we provide cups. Any new employee that that join South Face. You get a mug, and we have water that's all around our campus. And you can also then take that out into your home and continue to use that. And that also reduces plastic use, which is also really important sustainability.
Yeah, and if you're watching the video, maybe you're seeing a few examples that we're putting up, but if you're listening to the podcast, at the show website, we'll have the South Face links, we'll have some links to the Better Building Challenge, and you can see some of these examples at South Face that you guys kind of showcased there of how people can save money and be more sustainable and really reduce costs and increase productivity.
Absolutely, and I think there's some other really good resources as well. The Better Buildings Challenge website itself has a lot of best practices that have been showcased through the different cities and the different commercial real estate buildings that have been part of that. And then on the South Face website, we worked with the Department of Energy a couple of years ago to create a bunch of free tools and resources for commercial buildings. It's called the Advanced Commercial Building Initiative, ACBI. And all those tools are free on our website as well as Department of Energy's.
And your website is?
Southface.org.
Right. Okay.
So there also is a website that people might be interested in. It's called fitwell.org. And this is a program that CDC developed in combination with the General Services Administration, the GSA. Everybody's familiar with them. And what it does is it helps identify strategies for healthier buildings and put them in words that architects, designers, engineers, facility managers understand. You know, the public health side, they kind of talk in a different jargon, and this Fitwell program takes that jargon and turns it into things that we understand.
And if I run a business and I'm looking to lease space, or I'm a tenant rep and or a lawyer and I'm helping a tenant with their space needs, one thing you mentioned to think about is the plasma systems for the HVAC that maybe can help with healthier air. What are some other tips for a business owner related to their space needs when they're looking at space and negotiating leases?
Sure. I mean, I think green leases, I think, are one way to go. And what that really means, essentially, is that you're only paying the utilities that you're using versus paying on a square footage basis. And that not only incentivizes lower usage, but it also doesn't penalize you if you are being good stewards of your bottom line and the environment, that you're only paying for what you're using. In addition to some of the behavioral things that we've already discussed, there's things like separate metering. There's things like looking at your fresh air intake versus how much you're cooling that air, and utilizing your building management systems and your energy management systems for your building, because so much of air conditioning and the energy usage for air conditioning is actually taking out the humidity. So if you can keep your humidities at a certain level, then it's much faster to cool and or heat your building, but especially on the AC side of the equation.
Another thing you can look at is this thing called Walk Score, and this is about the location of your building and what are the amenities that are in a walking distance of your facility. And you can look this up. You can type in Walk Score, you can type in the address, and it'll tell you, if you're looking at 2 or 3 different properties, it'll tell you how connected they are to the surrounding community. This is really good because if you can reduce either the cost of someone's commute, or you can make their commute active, healthy commute. So like they're using transit, maybe they're taking a bicycle. You know, all of this is contributing to their ability to perform productive work for you.
Yeah. And I would say that there was a recent study that said that the cost to a business for loss of labor or to hire and to train somebody new is anywhere between 10 and 40% of their net profitability. So even if it's on the lower end of that, 10 or 15% of your net profits and people that you lose. So if you can keep people, keep them happy, you have a healthy environment that they feel like it's open and it's friendly and it's healthy and it's a quality environment, you're much less likely to lose those individuals, both in retention as well as in hiring.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think all of us we think more about today an environment that we enjoy being in, and maybe we'll accept less pay, because we like the environment, we like the people,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
like having the plants and flowers in the game room you saw
Absolutely.
when you walked
Right,
around here.
exactly.
Right?
Millennials are especially willing to trade other benefits for a beautiful, comfortable, supportive workspace.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're all kind of facing is how do we make this next generation of the workforce happy, healthy, productive, and want to work at our company, not
Absolutely.
another company.
Well, and I think that's also the first generation, and the generations that's following that are following the same suit, that they're also using their wallet to pay for and live in and work in buildings and with organizations that also share their values. And so having those shared value systems are also really important for recruitment and retention.
And before we let you guys go, what else should we know about the Better Buildings Challenge if we own or facility manage a building? What else should we know before we let you go?
Well, one of the things that I think is key is that we are integrating health into the Better Building Challenge. Mm-hmm. Not only are there energy and water considerations, but we're also saying if you would look at your building, look at the healthy criteria within your building, and try to make it more welcoming to the employees and the tenants, then that's going to make a better building as well.
And I would just add, sitting in Liz's seat as a former Chief Sustainability Officer, I would say that this is really not only an HR issue, but it's a CFO issue, and really looking at it as risk management and also reduction of bottom line costs to increase profitability will really help your aspects of getting into the Better Buildings Challenge. And will really help to drive your facility managers to have the appropriate talking points to be able to get them to be successful in that role.
And a lot of these things that I've seen that you can increase sustainability, reduce your costs, can actually be financed with nothing down and reduce your costs. So
right, exactly.
It's like, why not do it? You're going to increase the wellness, productivity, bring costs down. Let's also talk about the summit, right? The Better Building Summit.
Challenge. It's in Cleveland this year, which is the booming metropolis of Cleveland. And Cleveland's got a lot of really amazing things going on, including the Better Buildings Challenge Summit, which is an annual summit that they pull together all of the different cities and communities who are participating in the BBC. They share best practices. They look at innovation and technology, because technology is changing so rapidly in this space, not only bringing down costs, but also just expanding the opportunities for looking at sustainability and efficiency in new and innovative ways. And it is being held in Cleveland I believe it's the 21st to 23rd.
So can anyone go to that?
Anybody can go as long as you're associated with the BBC, and it is a little bit of an invite only, but I think if you are participating in the program, or your city's participating in a program, or your company or your building is, then you are definitely welcome to attend.
I see. Well, we'll have a link on the show website,
Absolutely.
commercialrealestateshow.com, to if you'd like to know more about the summit
Absolutely.
or about any of this. So what are some other resources that the audience may think about for this? You got BOMI, right? BOMI.org for facilities and management training, a lot of information. You've got
IFMA. IFMA is a good resource. Also, the CDC, just cdc.gov, has many different programs and resources, free tools. So, for example, there's a section about making your stairwells more habitable, more inviting. There's also a section on walkability, and then I'm also familiar with, you've heard of lactation rooms or wellness rooms, they're calling them sometimes. This is a space where a mother can express breast milk after they've had an infant. And talking about keeping people on your staff, this is a time when you lose people on your staff. They have a baby and then there's not a support system for them back at work. If you can provide a nice mother's room for them, then they're much more likely to come back and they'll be one of your most loyal employees. So
that makes a lot of sense.
There's a resource for that. There's a best practice article on wellness rooms that we can share the link for that.
Great.
And not to acronym people to death, but IFMA is the International Facility Managers Association. We have a rule at South Face, no acronyms. And we're a bunch of engineers, so you know how that goes.
We have a rule, everything's acronyms in the federal government,
And I think that that's a point that it's worth emphasizing is the facility managers that are in your buildings are the ones who are taking care of your buildings. And so by putting in more efficient, like LED lighting, they can no longer go around, and we actually replaced 2.5 positions, FTEs, and allowed them to do other things as opposed to just walking around and replacing light bulbs. So I think you have to think about sustainability as in terms of your workforce development as well, and ensuring that they have the hard and the soft skills in order to really implement these things, and then look through the change management so people understand what they're actually getting and the benefits of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Parting word on sustainability or the Better Buildings Challenge?
I think the Better Buildings Challenge is special because it is a voluntary program. And I think that you cannot think about sustainability. You cannot sustain or underwrite sustainability. It has to sit on its own 2 feet and has to be financially viable. And I think this is one of those programs that you really that really does that. And thinking about how looking at energy and water efficiency from the equity standpoint, from the social equity in terms of your people in your buildings, the reduction in your utility costs and the healthcare costs as we've discussed, in addition to the environmental benefits, means that your businesses will be more sustainable and more successful over the long term.
And if the challenge is to save 20%, how many buildings are able to do that? Do you know? That's a big number.
I'll speak to Atlanta quickly. It's the largest BBC program in the country. We have over 110 million square feet under the program. We are just under 20%, so 19.3-ish%,
Wow.
which means that we have a lot of buildings that are way over the 20%. So it is extremely achievable, both for energy, water, and wellness.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say about Better Buildings Challenge, it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's not drudgery. It's not a requirement. It's a chance to get out there. You meet other people who are in the same boat as you. They're trying to make their buildings better. It builds a community around these ideas of saving water, saving energy, promoting healthier buildings. And it gives you resources.
Yeah, you have benchmarks, right, of what other buildings are doing.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the benefit is that if you're in commercial real estate, you want to know how you're comparing to
Absolutely.
Others. And you want to be able to do it in a way that uplifts your business while not actually putting you out there in a risky situation if you're not performing as well. So this provides free resources. It provides support in terms of community of other businesses that are in this, and it's fun, and it kind of provides that opportunity to see how you're performing as opposed to your other like buildings and like industries.
Yeah.
And I've even seen it within a portfolio. There's that friendly competition within one person's one group's buildings.
Yeah.
Can be kind of fun.
That's great. Liz, Andrea, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Great information.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us around the world, around the country. We appreciate you sharing the show. Appreciate your comments as well. Be sure and join us next week. Until then, make sure you always lead, learn, and laugh, and join us for America's Commercial Real Estate Show.